Hey, this is Jason Clark again here at South Dakota State University, and welcome back to our Soil Health and Nutrient Management section of your Master Gardeners program. I'd like to thank you for joining us again today, and for this segment we're going to continue on with improving soil properties with that ultimate goal if we really want to maximize the growth potential of our plants. If we remember, the 6 different ways we're looking at improving our soil to improve plant growth are as follows. To this point, we've looked at nutrient retention, but for this video, we're going to look at how we can improve the drainage of our soils. To start off with, if we look at our plants, they have a pretty big job. Our plants need both water and oxygen. However, they've got to balance the amount that they need of both, because if they increase the amount of water that's available to them, they're usually decreasing the amount of oxygen that's also available in the soil. So they've got to play kind of a balancing game to make sure they get the oxygen and the water that they need. So since we're talking about improving drainage in this one, we're talking about avoiding too much water in the soil profile. So really the conditions where plants occur, where they are dealing with too much water, where there's limiting oxygen, occurs in a couple of situations. And that is with fine textured soils and lower positions on the landscape, such as at bottom of a hill where a lot of water is running off that hill into that bottom area. Fine textured soils, we've talked a lot about how they do have a lot of nutrient holding capacity. They can hold water. However, if they're really fine textured soils, they can then take that to an extreme where they're holding water too well, and we actually need them to hold less water and let that water go through the soil profile so it's not sitting all on our soil and keeping away the oxygen from our plants. So there's a few key indicators if we want to know if we have poor drainage. One, if we look at this picture here, if we're seeing standing water, there's a pretty good chance we have poor drainage. So that would correlate with slow infiltration. That water just sits there and does not go into the profile of the soil very quickly. The second is, again, standing water. If our soils not necessarily have standing water, but they just always seem wet. So soggy soils. Moss growth. Moss grows where really wet, warm conditions. So if we have moss growing, we're probably at poor drainage area. And again, we have high amounts of water, not a lot of oxygen. We're slowing down plant growth. And that slowing down of plant growth can be an indicator of poor drainage. And again, if we have a lot of water moving off through runoff, if we're on a slope and not going into the soil profile, most likely poor drainage in that area. There are several ways that we can improve drainage, and sometimes we can use non-traditional products to do so, or amendments. One thing we can do is we can add sand. You think sand is a coarse textured material, large particles, large pores, water moves down quite quickly. However, it's kind of impractical to use it for large areas, so it can be used for individual plants or small areas. Another thing we can do is we can use perlite. Perlite is often used in potting mixes. So if you look at a potting mix you buy from a store somewhere, you're going to see these white specks. Most likely that's perlite. Perlite is a large material. It's porous. It can help drain a soil, help things from being compacted. That's a really good source for that, especially in small areas and in container growing gardens. We can also improve soil drainage by incorporating a fibrous organic material. That fibrous organic material, again, is going to improve pore size by increasing it. It's going to increase water holding capacity, but it's going to help that water move down the soil profile. So peat is a good commercial source of a fibrous material you can incorporate. You can also incorporate yard waste that have high carbon to nitrogen ratio that don't decompose quickly, so leaves, needles, twigs, they can help. And of course, the black gold we're going to talk a lot about through this section with soils. So we can add compost in order to increase pore sizes, increase continuity of those pores so that water drains down and out of the soil. And really all these different organic matters help to do is they really help to build soil structure. Good soil structure allows water to move down and infiltrate deeper into the soil and not sit on the top where it's reducing the amount of oxygen that our plant roots can get to. Another way that we can improve drainage is by altering the soil in the landscape. There's a few ways we can do that. We can create beds, such as you see here. And you can see the beds on the far left, they're about 3 or 4 feet wide, and then a drainage area 3 or 4 feet wide, and a drainage area, or they can see these hills here in the middle. There's a lot of ways they grow potatoes or other vegetable crops to help water move away. And also you can see kind of more on a garden basis. You can create these hills in a garden, And what they do is they really help increase evaporation, because you're increasing the amount of soil surface that's exposed to the sunlight, increasing that evaporation, and you're helping that water move away from the plant roots. So this is one way we can improve drainage. Another way is by constructing raised beds, and here are just a few examples of some raised beds you might build or buy, or of some nature like that. And what these raised beds do is you control the growing medium, you control the volume of it. But there's a few little tricks you can learn to help know whether you need to use raised beds or not. So one way is if you can go out to the area you want to garden in, you dig a hole about 8 to 10 inches deep and fill that hole with water. If that water remains after about 12 hours, you should probably choose a different site or use raised beds where you can help improve the infiltration by kind of creating your own soil. One way we can improve drainage is by not compacting or over-tilling the soil, and that's really important, because if we compact the soil, we reduce large pores, and these large pores enhance drainage, so we create more smaller pores that decrease drainage and infiltration. And we also are trying not to over-till, because if we till too much, we reduce pore continuity. That pore continuity means the pores right below each other, so you kind of get this straight shot down, or at least less running into aggregates and soil particles. And it also reduces soil aggregation, because you're breaking up aggregates that are in the soil by tilling. So kind of an example of this that we can see here, if we look at this diagram, is that we can see in a normal soil, the water and air, they come down here, and they can see this pore connects to this pore and kind of goes down nicely and can go quickly. However, if we compact or till too much, we reduce this continuity that you can see here with this compacted soil. So we go down, we hit a particle, have to go over, hit another particle, go down. Very small space, not very many large pore spaces to move down. So it really helps decrease that infiltration rate down and out at the top of that soil. So that's why we don't want to compact our soil and why we don't want to over-till it, because we want that roadway for that water and air to go down deeper in the soil to feed and water the roots of our plants. But this is a few ways that we can help improve the drainage of our soils to improve the growth of our plants. So thank you for watching this video on drainage. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know. Thanks.